Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Richard Metal Fan Interviews. This is episode number 16, and today we're going to be talking to Aaron Weaver from Wolves in the Throne Room. We're going to be talking about their new single that they put out called Magic, which will be off of their new album called Primordial Arcana, which comes out August 20th through Relapse Records. We're going to be talking about that as well as like their songwriting process, black metal, and playing live, and much more. And with this interview, obviously you can't see him, but you can hear him. But hey, I wanted to do. He didn't wanted to have. He said that before the interview that before that he wanted to have like the better audio or something. If without the camera you can have better audio. But anyway, I'm enough of me rambling. Let's go talk with Aaron Weaver. Enjoy. So, hey everyone, I am here with Aaron Weaver from Wolves in the Throne Room. Aaron, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm doing very well. I've had a wonderful day of interviews, and you were the last one. And so I'm warmed
The
up,
lucky one.
loose, and flowing. No, I'm just hitting my stride.
Awesome. So, we got the new album Primordial Arcana, which comes out August 20th on Relapse Records, and you released the first single called Mountain Magic. Is this sort of like a clear representation of what Primordial Arcana will sound like, or is it just more to be discovered?
Oh man, I think that this record is very eclectic. Every song is, of course, united by a common aesthetic and a common spirit and a common energy. But every song is quite a bit different. Different tempos, different atmospheres. Sometimes it moves more into death metal territory. There's some more expansive and cosmic doom that makes an appearance. And the final track is a very classic Wolves in the Throne Room epic, over 10 minutes, Masters of Rain and Storm. So there's a lot for the listener to digest. But at the same time, the record feels very cohesive to me.
Yeah, awesome. So, would you consider this kind of like a follow up to Thrice Woven, or is this almost kind of like a new beginning for Wolves in the Throne Room in a way?
It feels very fresh to me. I feel almost as if we have dug deep and discovered a new source of energy, or maybe a new spring of fresh water, that we are all now drinking from and filling our cups from. And it feels as though that this new energy source will inspire us for years to come.
All right. All right. So, is there like a preconceived idea of what a Wolves in the Throne Room album is to sound like, or is there a lot of like trial and error improvising that and experimentation that goes to making an album?
Well, it is a pretty organic process. Maybe the best way I can describe it is it's a journey. We may begin recording with an idea of, oh, it'll sound like this, the songs will be like this. But as it unfolds, it takes on a life of its own. And we try to be very careful not to be constrained by any concepts or ideas we brought into the recording process from the outset, and to let it breathe and develop and evolve as an entity. Because, making a record like this takes 18 months from the beginning to the end. And a lot of life occurs during that time. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of joyful times. Lessons are learned. Epiphanies occur. And all of that is woven into the music and the process of recording.
Hmm. Awesome. So, do you try to like experiment with your sound, or is there like a usual formula that you all stick with?
Always experimenting, always pushing into new territory, always trying things we never tried before. Um, there's a few constants. I think we'll always use a JCM 800 as our, at least Nathan's primary guitar sound. Um, we'll always have, heavy metal or black metal as the primary elements of our sonic palette: drums, guitars, synthesizers, harsh vocals. But apart from that, it's open to us. We don't constrain ourselves in any way. And indeed, some of the most exciting sounds that inspire us in the studio are brought about by happenstance. that's something that's very important to me, is allow for chaos and wildness to reign in the recording studio. Otherwise, it can become a bit dry. And in this way, we can make sure that there is this freshness and unpredictability that that can always be in the music.
Huh, all right. Now, as a fan, if you play me like any 30 seconds of a song, I could tell like, oh, that's off of Black Cascade, or that's off of Celestial Lineage, or Thrice Woven. So does like every album almost kind of like serve as like a snapshot about who you, your brother, and everybody else was in that particular time?
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, people oftentimes ask if I have a favorite record, and I just can't, I can't look at it from that perspective, because when I look at Two Hunters, I remember myself in that time, who I was, where I was on my journey as a human being, and it's not a matter of liking it or not liking it. It just is what it is. It's like an etching of that moment in time.
Right. And I also feel like black metal for me is not just about the music. It's more, it's just a lifestyle. You're sort of like also like great, like essence of or imagery for the band. Does like a lyrical concept or like help the music, or does like music is up to interpretation?
Well, the way I do lyrics, and I think we all have our own process, Nathan and Cody. Um, I have my own way of doing it. And what I do is, when the song is nearly complete, when all of the tracking is done and I have a rough mix going, I will sit down with my headphones and listen to the song with a notepad, and I will just write down what comes into my mind's eye, the images, the the pictures that flow through me, and I write those down, and those are the lyrics. So lyrics are the last thing that I do, but it's a very important part of the song to me. And it's almost like the crowning of the song. It's like the final moment, uh, when the song is no longer just a mess, a working mess, like a messy workshop. It's becoming a completed crystal of a piece of music that is nearly ready to be released into the world.
Oh, awesome. So do you try to like leave your lyrics open to interpretation, or do you try to like engage the listener into what the songs are about?
Oh, always. No, it's not even about anything in particular. It's I interpret the lyrics differently every time I hear it. It's like, the lyrics to me are like a dream. It's coming from the same place, the world of dreams and magic and imagination. And there are no fixed truths there. It's always in flux. It's always shifting. And as soon as you try to pin it down, it loses its power. Um, yeah, it needs to always be in flow and in motion and open for interpretation.
Right. Could someone else's interpretation could change like how your outlook on like the music itself in a way a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. I love hearing people's experiences with the music and what it means to them, um, because there's a lot in the music that I don't even know about, because oftentimes the recording process is so mysterious, and forces are moving through us that we don't necessarily comprehend or grasp entirely. And so it's certainly the case that oftentimes other people have a piece of the truth, or a valuable facet of a perspective that I value a lot and appreciate.
All right. Right. When playing live, is there like a different energy playing in live than it is on the CD, or is it different? I mean, I mean, obviously, I've seen you guys once with Behemoth and at the Gates back in 2018, but is there like a different energy than playing live than to playing CD, or is it similar or different?
It's 100% different. Yeah, they can't be compared at all. Playing live is uh, an exercise in wildness and unleashed chaos, and it's very physical. Actually, when you saw the band with Behemoth, I wasn't on tour at that time.
Oh,
That was at the very end of my hiatus from playing drums live. I had taken a few years off to just focus on my own spiritual development and to be at home with my young son, who was a little fellow at the time. But I'm back on the drums now, and I've done a couple tours. And for me, playing drums is it's brutality, it's pain, to sustain the intensity of the music for a hour and a half set. Because I unlike a lot of drummers, hit really hard as I physically can. And so, very quickly, the set becomes an exercise in physical endurance, rather than a measured musical performance. You know what I'm saying? The studio is very different. We're looking at things under a microscope, and we access those places of wildness and chaotic energy. But of course, it needs to be captured in a coherent way on a microphone. So, two sides of the same coin.
All right. And going back to a little bit of the songwriting, as a drummer, do you need to like hear what the guitars and doing, or do you usually lay down a drum pattern and then the guitars and the bass writes over that, or do you usually want to hear what the guitars are doing in order to come up with a drum beat?
Always, yeah. Like the guitars are the most important thing. We write all of our songs just the guitars all the way through, with no overdubs, no drum beats, nothing like that. Just the guitars. Sometimes no distortion, just a clean electric guitar, just strumming out the parts, so that we know that the song is melodically and harmonically coherent and strong just on its own, and not then relying on production to make a compelling track. Um, so in this way, we know that just the structure of the song, just the chord progression and the notes in their barest essence, are a good song just as it is. It's a good songwriting. It's a good arrangement, and then the production can take it into different places from that point.
Hmm. Awesome. And kind of going back to playing live, when you sort of like express sort of like a darkness or different vibe, is there like a fulfillment factor after you play as you do before you hit the stage?
Usually for me, it's just exhaustion and recovery. Oftentimes, my eyes become swollen shut. Just I
Oh, damn.
burst blood vessels in my eyes, and it's a matter of like recovery. Uh, it's not necessarily a pleasant process.
All right. All right. And I got two more questions for you. Um, I'm just curious, with your style, does inspiration come out of nowhere? Or do you try to like put yourself into a certain environment or situation?
Oh yeah, always. The music springs entirely from the spirits of the forest, the rivers and the mountains of our home land. Um, that is the music. It's the voices and the songs of the earth that are emanating up from the very stones um, around us. For us, it's a making the music as a process of perhaps you could even call it channeling, channeling the energy that we receive from the earth and from the spirits of the earth, the spirits of the plants and animals, um, taking this blessing, transforming it within ourselves, and turning it into music, a song that can appear on a record or be performed live. That's how we do it. That's what's happening.
Mm. All right. And the final question I want to have is, I like all your songs are pretty long. You have like some songs that range from like 6 to 8 minutes. And then I think one of your longest songs is like 14 minutes. So the question I want to ask is, and this is like the hardest one, how do you know when a song is done?
Oh, it's super easy. Um, yeah, we really trust our hearts and trust our bodies. We trust our guts. And so you're right. Songwriting can oftentimes become a, a hall of mirrors. And I think that a lot of bands or a lot of artists can lose perspective as to what are we trying to do here? What are we trying to accomplish? And we don't really have that problem because I think all three of us are really honest with ourselves. And if we're working on a song, we could sometimes we'll lie to ourselves and say, oh man, this is sounding great. This feels good. This feels done. Mostly because we're exhausted and because we've been hammering on this one track for a month and just can't get it right and just desperately want to move on to the next thing. But one of us will speak up and say, no, dudes, I mean, seriously, check in. Like, does this really feel right in your heart? And then, we'll say, no, it really doesn't.
All right.
Back
Can't
to the drawing
half-ass
board.
it.
You can't half-ass it. And I mean, that's the beauty of being in a band, because there's always two other people to always keep that at the forefront. Like, does this feel right? Is this the song, or is this just going to be a compromise? And we never compromise.
All right. So before we go, I just want to thank you for this interview. Is there just anything else with Wolves in the Throne Room you'd like to promote? We got the new album coming out August 20th, and hopefully once this whole bullshit pandemic is over, hopefully, because things are slowly starting to pick up, we'll see you out on the road quite a bit.
Indeed. In the meantime, I would encourage people to check out the video we made for the lead single Mountain Magic, which we made in the forest and the mountains right around our home. And so people can see some of the landscape that inspires us.
Yes. So awesome. So everyone, Aaron from Wolves in the Throne Room. We'll see you next time.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Richard. Goodbye.